So how do you actually use Cypress to mock data in software testing and automation? More importantly, why would you use Cypress to mock data? That's what we're going to unpack today. But there's one trick that I'll show you towards the end of this video that a lot of testers miss. And without it, your test could randomly pass or fail. It'll be flaky. So stick around for that, especially if your tests seem weirdly inconsistent every now and then. Before we get into the code, let's talk about why mocking is so important for test automation. Okay, so I've loaded up Blue Sky into Firefox here, and I got the DevTools open, and I'm gonna look at all the API calls here. So let me reload, and cool, you see all the API calls here. Let's give you an example of some of the stuff. What's a good one here? I think this feed is a good one. All right, if we look over here, you get to see all the headers, whatnot. Let's look at the responses. So here you get to see, oh, what is this? Here's this post, and you get to see, oh, the author is Joshua Freewing. We see up here, I guess, what? That's not matching up. I think I got the wrong one. Oh yeah, get the top one. There we go. Post 0, this would be author. Yeah, you see Mark Cuban right here, M. Cuban. And you get to see all the stats and whatnot. Yeah, so all the data for this. So when you want to mock things, you can go here and take this data that comes from the back end of the app, and you can intercept this, and you can put whatever data you want in there. And even here, you can see the 200 code right there. You can change this to 200, 204, 300s, or 400s, or 500, whatever error code that you want to send back to your app. And that is the power of mocking data. Lets you to control the front end, so you can change like how much stuff gets shown in this app. You can make it slow down. You can do all this stuff to like make your app behave however you want it to behave by manipulating the back end, which can be extremely difficult to do just by regular normal test automation. All right, let's jump into code. How do you use cy.intercept to mock APIs? All right, first off, credit where credit's due. I'm using an app from this person, Vasant Mestri, and it's using a very simplistic API that's ready for everybody to use. It's called JSON placeholder. And so I just downloaded this person's website and just giving them a little bit of credit here. But this is how it looks when it's run. It's a little React app, and it just gets some data and downloads everything. So if we open up the network tool here, reload, and you see, hey, we got this JSON placeholder, and click on this, bring this over, and if we look at the response, and you'll see, hey, here's everything that we're seeing on the right. We got Leanne Graham, all that good stuff. Hopefully you can see that. Let me bump things up for visibility here, and on the side too, boink. So we got a lot of things in here, and yeah, this is what we're going to use to intercept and play around with some things. And it's just because this JSON placeholder API is just really simplistic. So just to make it easy and for demonstration purposes. Here, let's I set up, I've set up Cypress. Let me give it a run here, npm test. I'm not going over all the how to set up Cypress and whatnot. I'll leave that to you. There are plenty of instructions out there. Here we go. Let's start off. We're going to do end-to-end testing, and we're starting off with Chrome right here. There we go. Things up a little bit. So we got this spec right here, but let's jump into the code, and let's start off with the first simple thing. So the first thing we want to do, and sorry, I got GitHub Copilot going on here. So we're just going to do a simple intercept. So cy.intercept, and we're going to get, and we're going to go get that placeholder right here. And what this is going to do, I just kind of tabbed and completed everything. And I will delete a lot of this stuff. Status codes, give that as a 200. And let's see what data did they give us back on that app. Let's go back over to Firefox here. And here, let's grab the first piece of data right here. And see if I can just copy this out. Oh, raw. Oh, there we go. So it's going to be an array of elements. So I'm going to grab this first element right here. And I'm going to go back to the code, and right here, right after the status, I'm going to put body and paste what I got and end that with, there we go. I don't like this little overlay right here. Oh, We don't need to see Cypress running, so I will kill the terminal right here. Okay, so there you go. We got just one item in here. I'm going to intercept this. So yeah, this is the intercept. You can also use regular expressions or glob patterns, but right now I'm just directly hitting this API. And there's all the data. Then we're going to visit the website and get rid of this. That comes later. Yeah, we're just going to visit the website and we're going to see that this is now being displayed. So let's head over to Cypress. Whoops, kick this off. Oh, why did it fail? I don't know. But you can see right here, only one item is being returned. Cy.wait is still in there? Wait, it can't be in there. What is going on? Cy.intercept, cy.visit, and did I not save? Oh, sorry, I got auto save on my other apps and I don't have it here. All right, now everything passed. Cool. You can see we got Leanne Graham here and we've changed that. And here's one of the, we can change whatever you want here. You can status codes, whatnot. So basically, I'm gonna get into that in the next sections, but this is just cy.intercept. You set this up before visiting the site or before invoking whatever API you want to change. So you put that first, cy.intercept. You do the method you were trying to get and the API you're trying to intercept. And it might be the base path of your code, so you can probably just put / instead, but again, you can check the documentation for cy.intercept to see all the cool patterns you can put right here to intercept APIs. And then the rest is the actual response that you're going to give to the app. So yeah, this is a little bit of a much thing, but it's usually some type of JSON data. And then you go to the site, and then as soon as that API hits it, it's going to detect the API and then send that data. Pretty simple. And that's already pretty powerful. You can put in the data that you want or just limit it to only the one thing you want to see. Yes, that's the basic concept there. You get the API, intercept it, and then render what you want. But there is more. Let's jump into it. Okay, now here's where things get powerful. You're not just mocking successes, you can mock errors. Let's jump in and see how that works. Okay, so honestly, I don't know how the app's gonna react for some of these things. I played with it before, but I'm trying something different this time. Really, so if you're testing your app and it returns a 500 error code, something should happen. Your app should respond in some way. So let's see, let's just put in a 500 error code here. Okay, and I'll relaunch the test. So nothing loaded up at all. There was no error messages or anything, nothing loaded on the page. It tried to load right here, but nothing happened. So did it properly handle that error? I would give a nice useful error message to the user or something. So that could be a bug that you open up. And just to prove, let's go back here, change this back to 200, run it again. And there you go, it actually pops up there. So it did check that if there was any type of error codes, then it would do something different. And we can check maybe like a 404. I don't know, maybe this person, I have not checked their code at all. Let's see what happens. All right, so it ran and we got a 404 right here. Now, I do like how Cypress lets you see all of these API return values. Let's jump back into our test here and let's change the status code back to 200. And for this body right here, why don't we just give it an empty array? So let me collapse this, delete all that data. Cool, now we just have an empty array. Let's see what happens. I think it did the right thing. It showed nothing, but I mean, it depends on what you wanted. Like, so if you're at your job that you said, hey, you should display something, I would say you should display, hey, there's nothing in the feed or there are no results or something like that. So some type of message would probably be what you're testing here when you send nothing. All right, let's try a really large name and see how it looks. So I'm gonna undo, come back here, and let's go, instead of Leanne Grime, I'm gonna use GitHub Copilot here. Yeah, generate a string of 1,000 characters, cool. That gives name a, cool. So I will use this, get rid of that name. So we got A. All right, so this is gonna generate a 1,000 character string. Save that. And yeah, let me just rerun that. There you go. You see this? I would consider that a bug. It's not wrapping large names. I would either wrap or do something right here so it doesn't have this going out of the the div. Because if you had more than one item, then it would overlap. That's actually a good test. I want to duplicate this. So I'm going to have 2 entries now. And how do they look when you have that 2 of these really large? Go back. Oh, there we go. It reran. And it's depends on which one you're hovering over, like how you see that. But, you know, that could actually block users from seeing other data. So definitely a bug. I don't know, it kind of goes behind it. Weird. Anyway, but you can see this is a bug. It's weird. It doesn't look right. You just got kudos from your manager for opening an awesome bug against the front-end developer. It's late for me, so I'm getting a little bit wonky. I apologize. Okay, all right, this lets you simulate super specific scenarios that your regular testing might not be able to replicate. You can trigger features or error states without having to beg your developers to give you something to render that, like test data that they shove into the database, or having you go and manipulate databases directly, which, you know, might not be very convenient or even possible, depending on permissions at your company. But with mocking and using cy.intercept, you have complete control over what information the backend serves up to the front end. And if edge cases are something that you struggle with, check out my free guide, Top 5 Test Automation Best Practices. I include tips on how to organize your tests around the weird stuff, not just the happy path testing. The link is in the description below. APIs don't return data all at once instantly. Cy.intercept allows you to add delays to help slow down the responses that you get from an API. And this is great for testing loading messages and spinning icons. And a great trick is to use cy.wait and cy.intercept together in order to determine specifically when that API has finished sending its response. This will help you stamp out flakiness in your tests and getting false positives when you're waiting for the API to return in a certain amount of time. Let's see how this is done. So first things first, let's see how you get a delayed response. Let's try that. Let's just try doing a delayed response. So all this stuff's good. We got all the regular data that we had before. Right here under status code, let's add a field called delay. And we can delay things, I don't know, let's put 10 seconds here. And for you that don't know, this little underscore right here is just like a decorator in JavaScript. I use it just so I know, you know, to divide things out. I'm like, oh, this is 10,000. Whenever I do milliseconds, it's good to know that these are the actual seconds. So I know this is 10 seconds. Just an extra tip right there. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna delay for 10 seconds. And let's see what happens in the test when we delay for 10 seconds. Loading, loading, loading. For 10 seconds, we are going to load. And boom, there you go. You see it? It just popped up after 10 seconds. Yeah, we can change this whatever we want. I think maybe 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. There you go. And as you can see from right there, if I rerun this, this gives you a chance to check this loading message. And there's other components you have that could have other like loading icons or other loading messages, and you need to test that behavior. This is a way to do it. I'm going to change this back. So I'm going to change this to like 10 seconds again. But now the problem here is there's nothing problem with this code, but actually in real life, you don't know when the API is going to happen. So when I go and visit here, like we have a very simplistic app and only this one, this one API call is happening, but you could have a ton of API calls coming in and you could have a very slow database and you don't know when that response is just going to pop up. It doesn't happen deterministically by you. It's served up by the back end or maybe even the front end called that API later in the app after other things have happened. So you need a definitive way to know that what you have intercepted has actually been invoked and returned data. So how do we do that? The very first step is to use an alias. So you go .as, and right here, say get users. So this gives us a little alias, this whole cy.intercept and the result of it, it feeds it into this alias. And then what we can do after we visit this page, right there, it's already got filled in, cy.wait at get users to reference that alias. And we're going to put a timeout of, I don't know, I might, let's see, let's Let's put a timeout of 5 seconds to see it fail really quick. So let's go over here. This is going to be loading for 10 seconds, but we do a wait for 5 seconds. There you go. Timed out retrying after 5 milliseconds. So usually you're here, like, all right, we expect it to happen after we load the page within 20 seconds. And it's going to, even though I put 20 seconds, it'll finish after 10 seconds. There we go. 10 seconds and loaded, and our test passed. And this is important because then you do your other checks here. You want to do like something like, how do you do the not? How do I check text is not present? Should not exist. There we go. All right. Sometimes I forget things. All right. Loading right here. So we can go, hey, loading should not exist. And actually, I'm going to change this. I don't feel like waiting. All right. Cool. Test is loading for 3 seconds. It renders and boom. Make sure that loading is not in there. Or the other thing is that we're making sure, hey, you know, whatever else you need to check, but this makes things a little bit more definitive. At this point, you know, after this, that API has returned and done its job. So this gives your tests consistency. So this prevents flakiness in your tests. And that's very important to make rock solid tests when you're doing this stuff. Especially a lot of this is what you're doing is testing the front end. And you want that to be very stable and solid because most likely you're going to be using things like visual testing stuff like Applitools or Percy, which I'm not going to get into here, but this type of intercept stuff to test the front end goes great with visual testing. That delay simulates a slow network, which is awesome for testing, as we mentioned before, loading spinners, race conditions, or flaky real-world environments. This one trick that I just showed you can help you simulate some of those hard-to-debug errors where you see it only happens in CI or in prod or something like that, or during busy hours. And if flaky tests are your nightmare, download my free guide, Top 5 Test Automation Best Practices. The link is down below in the description. So now you know how to use cy.intercept to mock out a whole bunch of different types of scenarios, from clean data to really hard to reproduce error conditions. But here's my question for you. What is the hardest part of mocking APIs in your tests? Leave a comment below. I read every one of these and I'd love to hear back from you. And don't forget, grab your free copy of Top 5 Test Automation Best Practices in the link below. I wrote it to be super practical and something you can read and put immediately into practice. Now that you know how to use Cypress to mock data, you might be wondering the secret to test automation using GitHub Copilot. But how do you do that? It all starts by watching this next video here, because when you pair what you just learned with what's in that video, it's way more powerful. Happy testing. See you guys later.